Welcome to Policy Talks. We have with us a very eminent guest today, Dr. Pushpinder Singh Puniha. Dr. Puniha is currently the financial advisor to BCCI, an IRS officer of 1985 batch who has held various important positions in the government of India, and while he retired, he headed the National Faceless Assessment Scheme of Government of India. Dr. Puniha, welcome to ISB Studios, and it's a pleasure to have you here.
It is my pleasure to be interacting with you.
A person with multifaceted, personality, a person who has been an income tax officer, a revenue service officer for a long time, headed a number of committees at the national level, lots of things that you did in your profession. But as an academic, you are typically a pracademic, I would say. So I think, that entire ambit that we get from the financial services through financial inclusion to social development, and I think that's what we are going to talk to you today on. So I'm going to ask you to just a little reflect, and we'll begin with the financial sector in particular. Your 3.5 decades of experience in IRS as an IRS officer. Would you like to just reflect on the financial sector and the financial sector regulations and reforms, both? And where are we at this point of time? And what is it that you feel is the roadmap ahead?
It is a proven fact that tax compliance is a function of potential reach of tax administration to reach any footprint of financial transactions which anyone has left behind. So our digitization, our financial transactions record keeping has ensured that in India for the last few years. So from when I reflect back, I look at when I started off in 1987, the tax collections were merely about 15 to 20,000 crores a year. And this year, we are likely to achieve a tax collection target of direct taxes alone of about 19 lakh crores. So the growth has been phenomenal. It is, of course, a reflection of our economic progress also, but it is a reflection of bringing in new methods of tax compliance. If I have to contextualize it or frame it as an academic, then I would say that we have moved from what was originally a relational trust to transactional trust. So that, in the broadest term, has been my journey in the tax department.
Perfect. Even now, if you reflect, what do you think are the gaps that are existing, and probably things that need to be bridged while we are talking of the financial sector regulations?
Yeah, so if I have to speak as a tax administrator, I must say that at times, there is a belief system that, the tax to GDP ratio must reach a particular standard. And normal idea is that for an economy like ours, we must achieve a tax to GDP ratio of 20% or more. And we are reaching quite close to it already. Mm-hmm. So second is that a lot of people have this misconception that a lot of taxpayers are not paying their income tax. I must tell you that the way our tax laws are framed, the compliance rate of our population is very high. So we are pretty close to achieving a very high rate of tax compliance, which unfortunately is not the general perception, because people have this belief system, oh, my neighbor earns more than me and why isn't he paying taxes? That is not true any longer. It may have been true when our economy was not digitized, when the economy was not formalized. It is very difficult for a tax administrator to estimate the incomes when they are earned from informal sector.
True.
So right now, I don't have to do that. I have the financial data available, which I can access. and which I can estimate the income. So now the compliance rate of the direct taxes in India are as good as most of other countries in the world. And we need to take a lot of pride in it.
I'm going to take your attention to your work, to your research, which is on collaborative governance. I think a model that has a lot of value, something that is really important while we are looking at social development in the country. What does your research bring in? And while you studied one, two particular models, how do you think these are scalable for a country like India?
As we move in a different level of economic progress, we have to ensure that all those persons who are not in the mainstream of economic activities also enjoy the benefits of all economic progress which we are making. And one way of doing it is to include the community, include the individuals in all decision-making processes of financial inclusion and of financial management. Then the public policy will be framed in a manner that at least substantial part of those benefits accrue to those deprived individuals or the deprived communities. So I believe collaborative governance has a huge role to play.
Going ahead, you are currently the financial advisor of BCCI. What is this role like, and how do you think all that you've been working on and researching on somewhere gets into what you're doing right now?
When I was growing up, hockey, field hockey, and football used to be the main sports to be played in school. In fact, cricket was meant for those persons who are not very fit initially. But now cricket is the main sport. Why has it happened? And I think it has happened because the organizers were smart enough to realize that the moment a game gets coverage on television, gets digital coverage, its reach increases tremendously. And once the reach increases, then stars are born. Those stars inspire more people to play that game. So that brings in more money, and that brings in more talent to participate. The scouting exercise of the IPL franchises has gone so deep that they have at times selected an individual boy from a remote area of Punjab who had played leather ball cricket less than half a dozen times. He was basically a garden player with a tennis ball. But the scouts recognized in him the talent that he can be the pace bowler for India. And this young boy happened to be a cobbler's son who had not even earned more than 500 rupees ever before. And he was offered a contract of 20 lakh rupees for 1 year of participation in the IPL. So in a lot of ways, I think the success of cricket is nothing but another exercise or endeavor of collaborative governance which has produced absolutely brilliant outcomes.
So I think with that note, Dr. Punya, we are going to thank you for being here on Policy Talks at ISB. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much. And I hope my message of collaborative governance touches many more hearts and many more minds. And if we keep engaging all the stakeholders, better policy outcomes would be achieved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.